So skate shoes are inherently pretty crappy since they're made to get destroyed, so what's the point of even putting nice materials in at all? But there's a new company that has been touting premium materials and a nicer shoe overall than the rest of the game, WarSaw. So you guys have all been commenting a ton asking to review them because of these like claims of them being super premium, and we are the leather and shoe experts, so I'm gonna break down what does premium actually mean in a skate shoe? Are the materials actually premium, or is it just more marketing nonsense like we see literally every single week on this channel? And how do they skate? So what is WarSaw? So it starts with Jamie Thomas, who can be a pretty polarizing figure in skating, and he's had his hand at a lot of shoe companies. So Jamie Thomas grew up skateboarding in Alabama and traveling like all around the South. He eventually moved to San Francisco in the early 90s, chasing his dream of becoming a pro skateboarder. He actually lived on the streets for 4 months. He was homeless until finding a floor to sleep on. He eventually got sponsored by a small company, and a few years later, he got offered to ride for Toy Machine, which is Ed Templeton's skateboard company. During that time, he directed and starred many videos that pioneered skateboarding in the early 90s, like Welcome to Hell. But in 1996, he left Toy Machine and started Zero Skateboards, and he received his first signature shoe from America that same year. Early Zero era Jamie Thomas really like cemented in his impact in skating culture. Like he really had like a relentless drive. He made some of the most influential videos of all time, like Thrill of It All, where he tried the leap of faith, which is insane. Misled Youth, Dying to Live, it's like all these videos like shaped skating culture forever. So go watch those videos and educate yourselves if you haven't already. But 2 years after he got his signature shoe for America, he left and was a founding team rider for Adio footwear. So fun fact, in 1999, with his growing notoriety, Jamie was featured in the first game of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. This is where I learned about him, playing N64 when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I love his 1 foot combos. And like, I don't know, that's like Jamie Thomas in Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. Like, that's the guy I wanted to be. The little skull on his shirt, it was sick. Then in 2000, he left Adio and joined another legendary pro skater slash boombox enthusiast, Chad Muska, as a minority co-owner of Circa. But he only stayed there for a couple years because in 2003, he launched his own shoe brand, Fallen Footwear. He launched it through DC Shoe Co. with the help of Ken Block, RIP, and Damon Way. And in 2006, he was named Southern California's Entrepreneur of the Year by Ernst & Young. But in 2009, Fallen started to decline due to like all the changes in the footwear landscape, and the sporting good brands like Nike, Adidas, etc. They started to devour market share. So in 2015, Fallen was not able to meet minimums with the factory, and the company had accumulated over $1 million in debt. And Jamie Thomas decided to stop production, and he negotiated a settlement with the factory for the debt, which entitled them to assuming the rights to the brand's trademark. So pretty much they got into debt a lot with the factory, and now the factory owns Fallen. So Fallen's still out there, but it's not like Jamie Thomas anymore, I'm pretty sure. After Fallen fell, Jamie Thomas joined crew and super founder Angel Cabada as he launched his new brand Stray. Thomas endorsed Stray for 7 years before deciding to once again follow his like entrepreneurial spirit and launch WarSaw footwear and apparel. So he's had like quite the career in skating. Like if you've been around skating, like you definitely know who Jamie Thomas is. Like if you don't, oh, you're living under a rock or something. He's had his hand in tons of these influential companies that I grew up on. Like all of these companies he was a part of: America, Adio, Circa, Fallen. It's like all of my elementary school and high school. Like I was writing those logos on my notebooks, and like those were the brands I grew up on, and he had a hand in all of them. It's crazy. So let's get to the shoe. So what is this shoe? So the brand is WarSaw. The style is the Chapter Mid. They weigh 1 pound, 2 ounces. They retail for $110. Compared to other competitors' high top vulcs, like a Nike Blazer will run you about $100 depending on the model. The Converse high tops, they're about $80 for the skate version. Van Skate highs are about $80. And then Last Resort high tops, they're also about $100. Being $110, I'm definitely putting them in that premium price range. So they're made in China, and the positioning from the brand's website says, the Chapter Mid is a minimalistic approach to a timeless silhouette. With a seamless toe and quarter panel made of genuine pig suede, the Chapter Mid offers supreme comfort and durability. So supreme comfort and durability, those are big claims right off the bat. So it says the tongue and collar lining are made with supple pig leather, which provides durability and luxurious comfort. The insole is made of premium polyurethane for comfort and impact cushioning with a non-slip pig suede lining. So there's a lot of big claims in there about it being like the best for durability, the best for comfort, super luxurious, etc. We see all that stuff all the time. So I guess we'll just put them to the test. If you want a pair of these, we'll probably have links in the description. Sometimes we make affiliate commission or not. I don't know. All the shoes we review will always be available below if you want to check them out yourself. So starting with the upper, there were a lot of bold claims about the leather and how good it is. So first we'll start with the general shape. This is something I like going around as skating right now. It's the hole cut style upper. Hole cut means it's like one piece of leather wrapped all the way around with like, there's no pieces, no stitching anywhere. Like the only stitch line on this shoe is right here. You see it in like Last Resorts, you saw it in those Ours Is Yours shoes I just reviewed last time. I like it because in every skate shoe, you will inevitably kick through the stitching on the side. Like wherever they're stitching, you're gonna kick through it. You end up having like a small hole in the shoe before you wear out the leather. It's just like fail points. Wherever they're stitching, there's fail points. So this kind of style removes all of the fail points away from your high wear areas. Like the one part of stitching is on the inside of your shoe, and I don't know what trick you're doing that's gonna rip that part. So I do really like that about the shape. But less panels mean you have to use bigger pieces of leather that have to be unmarked or scarred. So that ups the price to source these pieces because you can't just like Frankenstein and cobble together a mishmash of panels. You have to get like one big piece. So that definitely adds to the premium price for this. But let's look at the material itself because that's really what matters. So it's a pig suede upper. Usually skate shoes are just normal cow suede. We've only seen pig suede on a couple shoes. I think it was the New Balance 990 series and the Japanese World War II boot from World War II, from 1945. So actually, I reached out to Jamie Thomas and I was asking him questions about like the materials in the shoe. So I asked why he used pig suede, and he said, in order to have a point of difference in the market, I wanted to use materials that are less used. Pig suede is nice because it is more durable than cow suede. It has a premium hand feel and it's more cost effective than full grain. So I got a little worried when I heard the term cost effective because that's usually not good news. It's like, oh, it's way more cost effective, so the margins can go up and it can be, you know, here. So I've been studying under Father Leather Daddy Weston for quite some time. So we're really gonna dive into this deep to see what's really going on. So if you look at the macro of the finish, it just looks like a normal hairy suede. So I ran the burn test because this will really tell you like what's fake or what's real. Let's see if there's any plastic coatings on it. There's nothing on it, it just burns like a normal suede, nothing too crazy. So we cut into it to look at the macro of the grain. So the grain is the structure of the leather itself. There'll be a tight grain that like holds everything together, and as you get down farther, there's looser fibers, and that's like the suede part. So suede is the really loose, like cheaper fibers. So you can see there's no grain at all. It's backed by a canvas-like material to keep it from disintegrating, because sometimes suede will literally disintegrate if there's nothing backing it together. You can also see it's blue on the inside. So usually white leather is blue on the inside because it makes the leather more white. Like all leather comes out blue and you dye it on top of that. It's called wet blue. So a lot of the times they'll leave the blue in there because the blue undertones will make the white look brighter and whiter. So there's a lot of blue left in here as well, which is kind of interesting to look at. It's like behind the scenes of leather. So if we see how thick this leather is, I'm gonna compare it to normal cow suede of the Janoski, which also uses a pretty similar suede. So the Janoski suede is 1.5 millimeters and this pig suede on the WarSaw is 1.45. It's like 1.4 to 1.5 millimeters. It's a little bit thinner than the normal cow suede. But moving to the puncture test, so we ran a puncture test on the cow suede of the Janoskis and it came in at 130 pounds, which is pretty good. That's one of the better suedes we've seen. We ran the puncture test on the pig suede of the WarSaw and it comes in at 99 pounds. So it's not quite as puncture resistant as the cow suede. Granted, it's a little bit thinner. You know, it's not quite as durable as the cow suede from the puncture test. But on the skating test, where it really matters, this leather held up super well. Like, no holes, barely any wear on it at all in like the high wear areas. I was really impressed by the upper durability. I didn't blow out any stitching anywhere because there's no stitching to blow out. It held up really, really well. And I skated this for probably longer than a lot of the other shoes. I skated this for probably a month. I kept thinking, I was like, I have to keep skating this longer because I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not getting any holes. So I'm obviously not skating it hard enough. So I just kept skating it and it kept holding up in wear. So I was like really blown away. But one downside was the more you broke it in, it's like the tighter you have to tie it and your laces start getting longer and longer and longer as the suede breaks in. But really, it was super minimal. It didn't break in too much or lose its shape too much or get too soggy. The tongue also slides a little left or right because the tongue itself is not super wide. It didn't create any pinch points or anything, but those are like the only two flaws I could find for the leather upper. Like, I'm blown away at how good the upper actually did in skating it. Like, I was not expecting it to do that well at all. So if we move into the inside lining, this is really where a lot of the differences are gonna come into normal skate shoes. I think there are 2 to 3 different leather linings in here. There's a pig leather collar lining. There's a rough out, like flipped leather on the inside quarters, like where your heel rests. This is great because on almost every textile line sneaker, you end up putting a hole in the heel where your ankle and heel are moving up and down. So the rough out leather, the flipped rough out leather in there will like stop that from happening a lot. It's probably the best material for the price you can get is just do a flipped rough out leather in there. And then through the vamp, it's also lined with leather. Okay, so the pros of a leather lining are it's way more durable than a textile lining, odor resistant, so leather stinks way less than textiles, which is a really big benefit for stinky skater feet. And the leather lining will help break into your foot better and like mold to the shape of your foot better than textile. But the cons are it makes your shoes a lot heavier. Leather is heavier than textile in every case. And it makes it much more expensive than just having a textile lining. So for the skating opinion, I've never really skated a full leather lined shoe before. I think every skate shoe I've ever had has been lined with textile. So one thing about this lining is like when you're putting it on, the leather kind of grips your sock and it'll like hold onto your sock. It feels a little weird at first and kind of makes like, It'll have like wrinkles in your sock that you have to pull out, like on the inside that you can feel. They also fit a little more on the snug side because of all that lining leather. Like I wear a 9.5, these were pretty true to size. They fit maybe a little tighter than you'd expect. I thought for sure there was gonna be some pinch points, like where all the leathers overlap each other right there, but honestly, I couldn't feel it at all when I was skating. They definitely stunk less, that's for sure. So I think all of the leather lining makes it way more premium for when you aren't skating. Like the shoe feels really good to wear. I don't think you need it for skating, but it is nice to have. So I know Jamie has said in like a couple 9 Club interviews or something that he likes to wear these sockless, and the leather definitely feels good on your feet if you're raw dogging it, but that's definitely not my style. So if we move to the insole, this is the big killer of vulcanized shoes because there's usually no midsoles, and so it's all reliant on the insole. It has a polyurethane insole with a pig suede sock liner. You can actually see where my foot has left an imprint in the leather topper. So it's a closed cell foam, which is quite dense, which I really like. Softer, squishier open cell foam insoles kind of feel like you're jumping in sand. You lose all of your energy when you're alling because it's getting like absorbed by the soft foam. All of the closed cell foam insoles I've skated, I definitely prefer. Under the insole is slightly different as well. It has a softer foam lasting material. Usually we just see like a textile board or like fiber board, and this is a little foam, which will add a little bit more squish than a normal vulc. But like, how did this affect skating? So I really like this insole. I love the denser closed cell foam insoles a lot, but this insole is pretty thick, and like with the extra foam lasting material underneath it, it definitely reduces the board feel a bit. So going from like a regular vulc to this feels a little strange. It's definitely gonna feel a little more like a cupsole, but if you're going from a cupsole to this, it'll still feel like a vulc. So moving to the outsole, it's a rubber vulcanized outsole. So vulc versus cup, I explain this in every video, but just a brief overview for those of you who don't know. Cupsoles are usually one-piece rubber outsoles that are attached to the bottom of shoes. It's just like glued on like that. Vulcanization is when one piece of rubber is put on the bottom of the shoe, and then another piece of rubber is wrapped around the outside of the shoe called foxing, and then it's thrown in a big oven to cure. So cupsoles typically are more durable but take longer to break in and have much less board feel. Vulcs are typically way less durable, but they have less break in time, more board feel, and are grippier. It's like they're broken in right out of the box. Cupsoles you gotta break in. You can see this one right here has an extra rubber bumper around the toe. In my experience, vulc shoes that include this rubber bumper last much longer. So if we take the durometer of this, it comes in at a 53 Shore A, so it's pretty soft for a skate shoe. A lot of the other vulcs we've tested are in the 60 to 65 range. The lower the number, the softer, grippier, and less durable it is, and kind of vice versa. We ran the puncture test on it. It comes at 86 pounds, which is fairly low, but it's in average like rubber outsole sneaker range. But for the skating aspect, this outsole was so durable, I could not believe it. Like most vulc foxing goes through in about 2 to 3 weeks, and this one only barely started to go through at the very end. It was like literally the very last day I was skating this, I was just doing a bazillion fakie flip attempts to try and burn it out. It didn't go through. It's like it almost went through. You can see a little tiny crack starting to go through, and I skated these for about a month. So like I was blown away at how durable these outsoles were. And on the bottoms of the shoe, you can see I barely put any wear at all into this shoe. Like this is the spot that I probably go through the fastest because I'm always like pivoting on the grip tape. It barely looks like there's any wear at all on the bottom of these shoes. I mean, for skating these for a month, the outsole held up super well. So far, so good for WarSaw, but the inside is where all these companies can really hide like any garbage and stuff. So let's chop it up and see what's really going on in there. All right, so we got it cut in half. Make sure to subscribe and like and comment, etc. That's the best way to support us so we can afford to cut apart 2 to 3 shoes a week to show you what you're spending your hard-earned money on. So let's see what's inside. So there's actually a lot more going on here than I thought. You can see under the insole is a foam and woven lasting board that we talked about. There's this gray rubber layer that is directly on top of the outsole. I think it's there to like fill all of the gaps and maybe adds a little more rigidity to the shoe. We saw a similar kind of thing in the Vans half cab and the heel. So that'll add a little more rigidity and a little more like rubber durability below your foot. There's also an added benefit of all of the leather linings. It almost gives you like a double leather layer all the way through the whole entire upper. So if you do end up kicking through the upper, you have a little extra leather layer to kick through before fabric. Like in other shoes, if you go through the leather and have just textile, you have like 1 to 2 ollies before you go through the textile and you are bleeding and kicking your feet. This, you'll have a little more warning. So with the dual layers, you have about 3 millimeters of leather to go through, which is pretty beefy for skate shoes. That's like the thickness of the most durable work boots from like the Pacific Northwest. So for the entire analysis of this shoe, are these premium materials? I would say yes. The leather lining really sets this apart from other skate shoes. Like the upper isn't like super premium, like 3 millimeter thick slab of edge tan, but I think for what it is, I would say this is a premium skate shoe with the double layers. Are the premium materials better than normal? The puncture test and skating it says yes. This is one of the most durable vulc shoes I've ever skated. So I was ready to come in and bust WarSaw and just like bash them and be like, we gotcha, there's no way this is premium, because we've seen that, you know, time and time again on this channel. Premium marketing is 99% of the time, it's all garbage. But honestly, these held up really good. Like they held up really good and they felt really good to skate too. I really like these shoes. I think they're definitely worth the money. I'm not even like a high top fan either, and I really enjoyed skating these. Like give me the low top version and these might be my favorite vulc shoes ever. Let me know what else we should cut and skate. Let me know your opinion if you guys have skated WarSaws. I'm really curious. I think they're just starting to get out there, so I don't know how many people can actually get their hands on them, which is why everyone's been commenting that we should do this. I would really like to know everyone else's opinion of this, because I really like this. Like this is probably one of my favorite skate shoes I've ever skated. There's tons of skate shoes and companies we haven't even touched, so let me know in the comments like what you want to see. This is where our value comes in. We can like if you keep supporting these skate videos, we can get all the small companies and like show you the stuff that you either can't get or can only get online and are a little hesitant to take a risk on. So let me know if what I got wrong, what I got right, what you want to see, etc. Everything. That's it. So I'm out of here.